Florida's Surgeon General said he didn't do any analysis on what the impact would be of canceling school vaccine requirements, but I can show you that exact analysis, and the findings should be concerning for all of Florida. The analysis that I'll show you has to do with herd immunity. That's the amount of people that are required to be vaccinated in order to reduce disease transmission. Think of it as a protective barrier. If you have one person who has the disease and a bunch of people around them who don't have the vaccine, it can spread really easily. On the other hand, if you have one person with the disease and a bunch of people are vaccinated, that disease won't start to spread to other people outside of that circle. But what happens when we drop below that level of herd immunity? That's when you see large and sustaining outbreaks. For measles, that's about 95% would be ideal that we don't drop below that. We can tolerate about 90%, but anything below that, we can see a lot of transmission. But a major problem is that so many US states have already seen a declining rate of vaccination in the United States. This map from the CDC shows each individual state, and the ones in the dark red are below 90%, including Florida. So how can we predict what's going to happen if vaccine mandates are dropped? We can use FRED, a framework for reconstructing epidemiological dynamics. FRED, which is developed by some of my colleagues, can model disease transmission knowing how many people are in a population, how many people are vaccinated in that population, and how people typically move around in that same population. Take Orlando as an example in Florida. Using baseline vaccination school rates from 2018, we can look at a comparison model of what a measles case would do when we have good vaccination versus when measles vaccination rates drop by 10%. And you can see upwards of 40,000 cases of measles just from one measles case and having that sustained outbreak. But a really concerning part is Florida's vaccination rate is essentially in that worst case scenario because the baseline vaccination rates were taken from 2018, and Florida is one of those states that have seen a huge decrease in their overall vaccination rate across the many years in school-age children. So what does this tell us? Florida Surgeon General did not take into consideration the downstream impacts of stopping school vaccine requirements. And if we are starting to see measles cases spread like we do see in Texas, the results of this are going to be devastating for school-age children and the surrounding community where we can see it spread. Take this into consideration as we see the school year start and Florida kids start to head back to school.